we're here today to commemorate and celebrate the listing of the National Register of Historic Places. My name is David Chapman. I'm the president of the Board of Trustees of the museum. I'd like to introduce you to some of the other board members here today. Perry and Pat Lawrenson. Perry, you raise your hand. Pat, you do it. There you are. Kip Kramer, I saw here just a minute. There's Kip. Noel Lengel. Not enough for a quorum, so we won't have a meeting. The Red Museum and the Institute for American Research are the local nonprofit organization that has the responsibility of operating the Railroad Museum for the benefit of the general public and for preserving the wonderful building that we've all come to know as the Goleta Depot. Let me introduce to you Gary Combs, who in his original incarnation was the director, the chairman of the committee originally formed to find a new home for the railroad and restore this historical landmark. That was the Goleta Depot committee many years ago. In fact, he did such a good job at that we stuck him with the job and he became the director of the museum for many years after that. And he has the complete history, the knowledge, and an amazing background and information and guidelines and history and vision for the depot, and it's appropriate that he do the rest of the introduction for you today. Gary?
Thank you very much, David. And speaking of the Goleta Depot Committee, let me, right off the bat, introduce the other two living members of the original Depot Committee of 5. They are Gene Allen and Phyllis Olson. The American flag that we will be flying today is a gift from Congresswoman Lois Capps. Last year, this flag flew over the U.S. Capitol building in Washington, D.C. And the California flag is a gift from the Native Daughters of the Golden West, Reina Del Mar Parlor. Raising the flags will be Ed Leska, one of the museum's senior volunteers, and he is being assisted by Robert Adams, who is one of the first of the museum's junior engineers. Leading the Pledge of Allegiance will be Noel Engel, who is the immediate past president of the museum's Board of Trustees. Noel?
I had offered to bring my bugle and play to the colors as the flag was going up, but the Museum Executive Committee declined that honor. All right, if you would put your hand over your heart and follow me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all very much.
Try to do that in the recording.
Thank you. This day has been a long time in coming. In fact, some might accuse us of putting all of it on hold for a number of years until now, when we could rightfully add some very special words to our orations. Words like city and council members and citizens and mayor. So I'm going to use all those words in a very brief one paragraph here. All of us here who are citizens of Goleta are very proud of our new city. We're honored, all of us are honored, to have with us today Council members Cynthia Brock and Johnny Wallace. And it is my great honor to introduce the mayor of the city of Goleta, the Honorable Margaret Connell.
You know, it's one of the real rewards of being in this position, apart from making decisions for our new city, is being able to represent our city at occasions like this, which are times of great pride, and really recognition of all the volunteers and community activity that's gone into making this happen. This venerable building has surely earned its place on the National Register of Historic Places. 101 years old. It's not only worthy as a historic building, but as an emblem of the railroads and their place in the history and development of our country and this area. I remember, as I'm sure most of you do, when the depot was, the depot, I have to remember to say it that way, was sitting boarded up beside the train tracks in Old Town Goleta, looking as though its last days were near. It's through the vision and diligence of community volunteers on the Goleta Depot committee that it was saved and moved to this site in 1981. We as a community owe them an enormous debt of gratitude, not only for saving this historic building, but for the wonderful museum and educational and fun programs they've built around it. I want to thank all of the people who have made this possible. We in Goleta can be very proud of having this piece of history in our midst. And on behalf of the city of Goleta, I want to thank everyone who's made it possible. It's a real pleasure to be here today to celebrate with you.
Thank you, Mayor Connell. Let me next take the opportunity to acknowledge the presence of Rachel Couch. Rachel, where are you? Rachel. Rachel and Etta. Rachel is here on behalf of 2nd District County Supervisor Susan Rose. And Wendy Moda is here representing State Senator Jack O'Connell, and I believe she has something for us.
Thank you, Gary. It's my honor to be here representing Senator O'Connell today. I have a certificate for the depot that celebrates and acknowledges their registry into the national and into the California registries. And I'm very proud to be here to bestow that to Gary. And I also wanted to add that this place here is not only special to this community, which it has really represented Goleta for many, many years, and it's an honor to be here to see this come to fruition. But I myself have enjoyed this place immensely with my family. My son has had his 4th birthday party here, and we've enjoyed many hours of recreation with our children, and they enjoy it so much to get on that caboose over there and to ride the train. This brings so much joy to children and gives them such hands-on activities here and lets them see these office inside and all the little devices that were used. It's really a special, special place, and we are so fortunate to have it here in our community, and I'm so proud that it's part of the city of Goleta. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Wendy. Just quickly hold this up. It's a certificate of recognition, and it says presented to Goleta Depot in honor of being listed on the National Register of Historic Places and the California Register of Historical Resources. History means never forgetting, and there are some who are no longer with us whom we can never forget. They include the 2 departed members of the Depot Committee, Ray Baird, the project architect, and George Adams. Ray and George were men who gave our committee so much, their skills, their wonderful senses of humor, and their determination in the face of much uncertainty and daunting challenges. There was Mary Lou Williamson, one of the museum's very first volunteers, who was out at the depot site the day after the building was moved, helping Gene Allen and others salvaging bricks from the old foundation so they could be used for fundraising. We have lost benefactors like Earl Hill, who had a special connection with the depot through his Goleta pioneer ancestors. And men like Ernie Thompson, Bob McNeil, and Bev Castleman, museum volunteers who gave us not only their time, but also their spirit and their love. And there are others. We will miss them all very much. Please join me in a moment of silence in fond memory of these departed depot people. Thank you. I think that was Raymond. When the Goleta Depot Committee was started over 20 years ago, it was created by the community organization then known as Goleta Beautiful. Today that organization is Goleta Valley Beautiful, and we are very pleased to have with us today, joining in our celebration, the organization's president for life, I guess, Sam Alfano. Sam, thank you so much for coming. Phyllis Olson brought to the Depot Committee a tenacity that served her well during her time as the project's fundraising chair. And in fact, come to think of it, that's a job that she has yet to relinquish after more than 2 decades. Please join me in welcoming the committee member that all of the rest of us all wanted to sit next to, Phyllis Olson.
I'm so flattered. Everybody knows that I have to talk with my hands, that holding that thing will never work. Behind me, Gary's face is beginning to pale because he goes, in his mind and in his heart, he's going, oh my gosh, she's going to thank every volunteer there ever was. Relax, Gary. It is proper today to acknowledge, while we're all gathered here, those volunteers dating back to the fall of 1980, when this building was a heartbeat away from destruction. People weren't stepping forward because they didn't know that we needed their help. Those people who helped initially were the ones that were closest to us. The news press and Mr. Steve Sullivan stepped up. John Bartell was the editor of the Valley paper, and he helped up with this wonderful little engine that says, how much money did Phyllis get this week? You know, sometimes, folks, it was $10. But that didn't stop us, because as I always tell the children who tour here, you know, we didn't know we couldn't do it. And today I think perhaps in my mind that this is one of the building, the depot's finest hours. And you know, it has an odd magic. It draws those people to it that are also magical. And looking out in the faces of the volunteers that are here today and thinking about all the thanks you're owed, my gosh, you'll never get them. But there's a plaque down there that says you're all worth it. Now you can't stop because we're not done yet. We've got projects and dirt and all kinds of things. But just a couple of very special, maybe more recognitions today. When I turned to my right, there was always someone standing there. Not only did she dig up bricks from the foundation the morning following the move, she walked 5 miles backwards to raise money in the very first fundraiser, the very first Depot Day. She and I are known for crying a lot, and so please forgive me if I'm irritating you, but this woman is so extraordinary. You know, you have volunteers by the score, and every once in a while, there's a golden one. And it was never, oh, it was always, what can I do? I can do that. And she did it. So please help me thank Nancy Reed. Now, Nancy's health has taken a turn for the worse the last few years, and so she can't be here. She and Mary Lou were the first docents. I mean, no kidding around. There was no one before them that would come out to a derelict building that we were trying to put together and show the public around. I mean, who did that? They did. She and Mary Lou. Now, there's one other special docent here that it's hard for me to talk about as well because of her great donation of time and love and caring, not only for this project, but for the first fiestas, where she helped build the floats and coordinate the fiesta. From the point where she came here as a docent and was here twice a week and sometimes 3, she was here for every event. And when we needed a wonderful mural for the model railroad exhibit, she's a beautiful artist. And she said, my favorite words, I can do that. And she did it. She did it with photographs, she did it with time and caring. She did it a panel at a time. It took 2 years of her life to do that model railroad diorama. She's recently retired, very recently, from being a docent, and she's here today with her husband. And I'm so glad you could both come. Please help me thank, as much as we can, Hilda Volkman and Al Volkman. Now you can relax. I think I've thanked those that I'm probably going to cry about. In my family and in Gary's family, our children stepped forward. His daughter Heather and his daughter Stephanie. My family stepped forward. They couldn't all be here today, but my beautiful daughter, Carrie Elizabeth, and my handsome grandson, Ben, and the wonderful Robert are here today. You'll see Carrie at the silent auction on Depot Day. She'll be behind the table. And not that I'm letting out any secrets, she's often in the same room with our Easter Bunny on the Easter Bunny Express Day. Thank you, Carrie. Now I can feel the glare is starting to hit, and so I'm going to tone it right down. For those of you that know me, I want to tell you again, it's never about the building. It's always about you. Now I see a lot of our current volunteers. I mean, goodness, if we'd done all this work and nobody came to help out, it wouldn't be much of a day for us here. So for those of you that are current volunteers and work at the Railroad Museum or on board Amtrak for our South Coast Starlight Guide program, if you could just raise your hand. One of the most special docents nowadays, she's special to me because she goes in that shop and she sells stuff. And boy, the revenue there is important to the museum. And I can't stop without thanking the wonderful, the marvelous Edie Brown. I want to acknowledge Peggy, who did the guest book today. Judy Blue over here, who's working with Taya Kremers to do the refreshments following this. And then last, although she's never last, is a special lady who came from Poland. Barbara. Hungary, Poland. Where'd your mom come from? Oh, well, that messes up my whole story. I love this woman, and she is my favorite beautiful lady. And the fact that she could come here today and be with us speaks about the magic of this building. It's love, it's caring, it's standing up when you're needed. Her daughter Barbara Cornish and the beautiful Elsie Plea. and grandson Cody. Thank you, Elsie. All right. I think you would agree with me that from 1980, that fall of 1980, until today, we've been busy. And I believe that you might agree with me that we're not done yet. But don't you think this is a heck of a start? All right.
Thank you, Phyllis. We have to get the chairs back. Since we're here to celebrate the addition of Goleta Depot to the National Register of Historic Places, I thought I would say a few words about the National Register and what it's all about. The National Register of Historic Places is our nation's official list of buildings, sites, and other properties that have been declared worthy of preservation. The register was created as part of the very broad-reaching National Historic Preservation Act of 1966, and the National Register is administered by the National Park Service. Over the years, about 75,000 properties have been placed on the National Register. The list includes, for example, the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C., Old Ironsides, the Revolutionary War battleship, the USS Constitution, that now resides in Boston Harbor. In St. Louis, the Gateway Arch overlooking the Mississippi River. The Empire State Building in New York City, just to name a few of the more recognizable members of the elite group. Here in Santa Barbara County, there are about 40 National Register properties, including Santa Barbara Mission, other historic adobes and homes, archaeological sites, and so on. In the city of Goleta, there are just 2 buildings on the list. Stowe House, our neighbor up on the hill there, and now Goleta Depot. So how to get... So how did Goleta Depot get on the list? Well, first of all, just in terms of the mechanics of the process, the decision was made by the California Historical Resources Commission back in their meeting last November. The recommendation was sent from the California State Historic Preservation Officer, Dr. Knox Mellon, and forwarded to Washington, D.C., the National Register office there, and to the keeper of the register, which always sounds to me like a title taken out of a Harry Potter book. But keeper of the register, that's a real job, real person, very important things to do. And finally, Goleta Depot was placed on the National Register on January 18th of this year. So what earned Goleta Depot that place on the National Register? Well, there are a couple of answers to that question. First of all, over its 101 years, Goleta Depot has had a profound effect on the people of its community. This has always been a very public place. It was used by just about everyone in our community, and it touched the everyday lives of so many people. It had that effect because it has played important roles, and because it has filled so many different roles. In fact, I like to think of Goleta Depot as the Swiss Army knife of local buildings. Consider the following. Obviously, Goleta Depot was a transportation center. Arguably, it was the most important transportation center here for most of the 20th century. This is where many of Goleta's early pioneer families first set foot on the good land. This is how Goleta's agricultural produce, livestock, walnuts, lima beans, tomatoes, lemons, reached distant markets. When the building boom began in the 1950s, Goleta Depot was the place where the lumber and nails, the sheetrock, and the shingles arrived to build the houses that so many of us today call home. Goleta Depot is also a communications center. The freight office is still filled with equipment for getting and sending messages. For most of its years along the tracks, Goleta Depot was the local home of Western Union, the telegraph company. And Goleta Depot was very important for railroad communications as well. This is one of the oldest surviving commercial buildings of any type in Goleta. It is the building most closely associated with the railroad in our community, and it is also the most important building associated with the completion of the coastline. And the coastline is the Southern Pacific's coastal route connecting San Francisco and Los Angeles, which was opened up back in 1901. In addition to all of that, Goleta Depot was placed on the National Register because of its special architecture. And it's a handsome building, of course, but there's more to it than that. Goleta Depot is an example of what we call a standard plan depot. Many of America's railroads used standard plans to build their common depots. And what that means is that they use the same plan over and over again to build essentially the same basic depot in different places. The Southern Pacific Railroad had many of these standard plan depots, and the most popular one, the one that they used the most, was the combination station number 22 design. And Goleta Depot is one example of that CS22, to abbreviate, design. SP built, Southern Pacific built more than 90 of those CS22s from about 1894 until the 1930s. And they were built throughout much of the West, in California, Nevada, Arizona, Texas, Oregon, and Utah. Now the last part of the coastline that was built back in the 1890s was an 86-mile stretch located entirely inside of Santa Barbara County. And the Southern Pacific built a total of 8 CS22s in Santa Barbara County at that time. That's more, those 8, that's more CS22s, more of this particular standard design than were built in any other California county or in any of the other states. So it's kind of a special place for these buildings. All 8 were built in conjunction with the coastline completion. These included depots at Goleta, Naples, Gaviota, Conception, Sudden, Surf, and Guadalupe along the coastline's main corridor, and a depot in the town of Lompoc on the branch line that runs east from Surf. Now, except for Goleta Depot, all of these Santa Barbara County combination station 22s were eventually raised by the railroad. The last to go, a fragment of the Surf Depot, was used until the 1990s when it too was demolished. And so Goleta Depot is the only one of these very important and once widespread standard plan depots still in existence. And that is how Goleta Depot has earned this special national recognition that we celebrate today. Now, if Phyllis and Jean will step down to where the plaque is located, we'll have the unveiling. It's way down there somewhere. While they're stepping forward, we do everything with great tradition around here, and I might mention that the cloth that covers the plaque is a fragment of the same cloth that was used 20 years ago, back in 1982, during the Goleta Depot dedication ceremony that we used in unveiling one of the original Goleta Depot signboards during that dedication. Go right ahead anytime you like. For those of you without 5/5 vision, plaque reads, "This property has been placed on the National Register of Historic Places by the United States Department of the Interior." So watch out. And finally, let me say that the tapestry that is the history of Goleta Depot continues to unfold. By joining with us today, you also have become a part of that rich fabric. Congratulations. We hope you'll stick around for refreshments and some visiting, and thank you very much for coming. It's been an honor.
Alan. This is cool.